Hey guys, how are we doing today? Happy Monday. Dustin Tibbetts, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth. Hopefully this goes smoothly today. We're financial advisors. We do a show usually daily called The Doe Show. That's what you're joining us here for today. And today we're going to do something a little bit unique in that we're going to talk about the government. Every now and then we'll do a show about the government messing with your dough. What are they doing, good, bad, or indifferent? And just kind of give you an update as to how things are going. And so we've got a handful of stories to talk about up here. You let me know what you think in the comments below about this one. And then, of course, join us later for the closing beat. It's our 5 o'clock Eastern stock market update. We'll go over the good, the bad, and the ugly with the stock market. I think you'll enjoy it. So let's get started because this one's kind of interesting. Number one, we got Chi-Town loses $54 million. This is actually, you guys, if you live there, you probably already know this story. But the Chicago pensions, the teachers' pensions, police officer, the city laborers, and CTA lost a total of $54 million of your money. Now, it's not because they made, like, they invested in, like, pot stocks and they went down, right? What they did is 5 years ago, they invested $68 million in a real estate deal where they were going to go into the sort of underdeveloped neighborhoods and they were going to revamp them, gentrification at its finest. But what they were going to do is build up all this cool real estate and rent it out and make a lot of money. Now, the deal was actually done by the nephew of then Mayor Richard Daley. So if you're from Chicago, you know, there's, you know, the tie there. So, Richard Daley, the mayor at the time, and 3 other city leaders said they gave the green light to what they called Urban Realty Partners, right? So it was the nephew of the mayor. Well, so they went in, they decided they were going to go get all these properties and everything. It went bad. The deal went bad pretty much immediately. They had a few properties that they bought that really weren't worth much, and the deal fell through. Now, they had to sell off all the property. Actually, the pension funds actually took access of all the properties. They lost $54 million on the deal, $2.6 million in legal fees, by the way. And so the way it breaks down is if you're in Chicago and you're a part of the teacher's pension fund, you just lost $19 million. If you're a police officer in the city of Chicago, you lost $12 million. If you're a laborer, you lost $8, and if you're working with the CTA, you lost $2.4 million. So interestingly enough, when I read this article, Urban Realty Partners, that's the company that was run by the then mayor's nephew, they still made $1.1 million out of the deal. So even though everybody lost, they made $1.1 million. And of course, now he's not the mayor anymore, but then Mayor Richard Daley, of course, distanced himself immediately. He does not talk about it very much at all. So unfortunately, if you got a pension fund in Chicago, you just lost $54 million. What's the moral of the story? Does it matter, right? The moral of the story is you take control of your own investments. You put your money in a 401k. You might use the Roth IRA, whatever it is that's a good vehicle for you. It's yours. You hold it. You might make the decisions as far as the investments go. Or maybe you work with us and we're the people that make the investment decisions, but we can't touch your money, right? If I were to lose that much of customers' money, oh, you bet there'd be a big problem, especially if it came to find out that I invested in something that a family member ran. Oh, you know the SEC would be all over this, and we are now SEC registered firm. So number one, that sucks, but unfortunately, they just, you know, that's politics at its finest. If that guy was not the nephew of the mayor, you guys wouldn't have lost that money. So you have the nephew to blame, you have Richard Daley to blame, and of course, Urban Realty Partners, and probably your pension funds for not looking into this a little bit more. Boy, that's crazy. Okay, number 2, Virginia is for savers. This is actually a good story. So in Virginia, they actually ranked as the best state for savers. So 84% of Virginians have savings of over $5,000 and have 63% of them have a retirement fund. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but look, in over the U.S. as a whole, 57% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings account. So 84% of Virginians have more than $5,000, whereas more than half of the United States has less than $1,000 in their savings account. That's according to Bankrate, actually. So in Virginia, 56% of the population spends less than they earn. That's good news. And that's compared to only 32% nationwide. So again, 32% of the entire country spends less than they earn, which means what's the other side of that equation? People spending more than they earn. Dollars coming in need to be greater than dollars going out, remember? So Virginia does well there, and they actually took it a step further and they said 26% of people said that if they had extra money, they would deposit it to savings or investments. So good job there in Virginia. They were the nationwide winner. So Virginia, the best state for savings, the best states for investing, and personal finance in general. So very, very cool. All right, number 3, peasers becomes losers. I'm sorry, I had to do it there. So if you're familiar with the pension state plan, the pension state public plan, here's what happened. So they actually did, they were doing a report, basically. They wanted to find out how to shore up some of the debt that they have, meaning the pension plans in Pennsylvania, they went out and they said, look, we want to make sure we're doing the right thing here. And so they hired a guy from Oxford finance professor, can't even say his name. And they said, would you go and look at our pension funds and would you just make sure everything's good and just sort of nice and tight, because there's a lot of talk about pension plans going down and having a lot of problems. And so the professor says, yeah, sure, we'll make a whole study out of it. And he gets access to all of what's going on there with, they call it, so I always just say PEASers, but the Public School Employees Retirement System and the State Employees Retirement System, SERS, also. So he takes a look. He goes in there, digs it up, and he goes, wait a minute, I know you guys wanted me to take a look at this, but did you know that you guys have been underreporting billions of dollars in fees that you didn't report? And so as I was reading the story here, the guy digs in, does his work. He did a great job. And they were trying to make sure that about $70 billion in debt was good, $57 billion for PEASers and $29.7 in the state employee retirement system. And he determined that the fees that they were paying to the private equity firms that actually run these plans were being underreported to the tune of $3.8 billion. In other words, the private equity companies weren't really telling the pension plan exactly how the hot dog was made, right? So they went to the private equity groups and they said, hey, we need the documents as to how much you've been charging us. We just need to know. Whatever it is, we have to report it. You can't go telling us that the fees are less when they really aren't. And they refused to turn over the documents because they don't have to. They're not required to. So they said, no, we're not going to turn over the documents. And as of now, you have no idea, if you're in the Pennsylvania state retirement system, you actually have no idea what they're charging you and how much you actually have. That's killer. That also goes back to this one here to say, keep track of your own dough, right? Just put your own money in. I talked to a guy the other day. He goes, for every $100 that he puts into his plan, I believe it was out of Colorado, he says for every $100 that he puts in, $37 goes to unfunded liabilities that they can't cover in the future. It's not even his to keep. I'm like, why would you put your own money in there? You're paying 37% in fees, essentially, to do that. And so eventually he got the point. But you get what I'm saying there. If you're in Pennsylvania, that's crazy. The pension plans, they're really trying. I mean, there's a lot of them. Texas is really trying. But unfortunately, if you're in Texas and you're a teacher, you're not getting a raise on your pension. So that's basically it. You're stuck. Even though you were promised a raise and they were supposed to have planned for this, you're stuck in Texas. So, God, there's so much bad news as far as pension goes. I will continue to say, I don't care what the benefit is over here. I don't care if they auto-enroll you and try. That's like when you go to the store and they try to get you to buy other stuff by just throwing it in. Get rid of it. Just focus on investing for you, your goal, in an account that you are the only one that can control how much money goes in and out. Because these guys, you give them a dollar and they're going to make sure it goes away real quick. Anyways, and lastly, can you pay off debt and invest in your 401k at the same time? We actually did a video about this, a real short one, I believe. But here's the deal. The IRS just made it official, not just made it, but they made it official now where you can, here's how this works. You have a student loan you're making payments on. You can now continue to make those payments, report them to your employer, and they will match you in your 401k, even though you didn't make any contribution. So the deal is you have to pay, you have to put at least 2%. Oh, geez, that's 20. I meant to say 2%. So you got to do at least 2% here. But the deal is, let's say you have a $100 a month student loan payment, just to make it easy. you're paying your $100 a month in your student loan and it goes to the company, everything's good, you're on time, all works fine. Now you can go to your employer and say, hey, you said you would give me like a 3% match, right? For every dollar I put in, you'd give me like 3% or up to 3%. And the employer's gonna go, yeah, sure. And you go, well, okay, I'm gonna keep making my student loan payments, but I'm gonna give you the receipt and you're gonna pretend like I put it in my 401k and then you'll give me the match? And they will, right? So the new IRS rule says they can do that as long as you meet the 2% minimum rule. So we did a video to say, do you agree? Do you disagree? Now it doesn't matter. Go to your employer. If you're making student loan payments and your employer has a match, go to them and say, hey, did you see the new IRS guidelines? Or give them this video and say, I want that. I want that. What do I need to do? Do I need to give you the receipts, the payments? Do you need to log into my bank account? I don't know the process. Each employer is going to be a little different. Go to them and say, I want that, right? It's free money. So now you weren't getting the free money. You go ahead and keep paying your student loans and you'll get the free money. I totally disagree with the whole concept, but the law is the law, right? And part of the problem with like what we're dealing with in America right now is people wanting to go backwards and fight laws that we already determined are laws. So let's just move on. This is now technically IRS legal, so whether you agree or disagree, go take advantage of it. You know, while it's there, I don't know how else to say it. So that'll give you that. Anyways, okay, so that's all I have for you. That's 4 things. That's the government in your dough. I don't mean to get you fired up on a Monday, but we tried to do this on a Friday and it didn't work. So we're back. Everything is just running smooth. We got a brand new, outside the building, there was this, they call it the tap or something. And it was like, that was what was causing all of our issues. So they took the whole thing out, put a whole new thing in, and so it looks pretty cool. Nice. Yeah. Oh, so you heard about it, London, the Chicago thing. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, sadly, that happens every day, though. That's why people want to get into politics there. Oh, you're in Virginia, Elliot. All right. Good. Probably skews to Nova and Richmond, though. Yeah, it didn't go region like into the state. It was a nationwide study, but that's pretty cool. I mean, that Virginia won. It certainly wasn't going to be Florida or California, and I can say that because I'm from Florida. Yeah, ML. Yeah, California. You know, so you got it. Oh man. We're going to talk about all of today's activity, Mary, as far as the stock market goes on the closing beat later today, if you're interested. Does it work if your company doesn't give you a match already? No, because the money is actually coming from the company. So if there's no match and you go tell your company, hey, I made a student loan payment, they're going to say, great, we don't pay you anything for that anyways. If your company offers some kind of a match, that's where you're going to use that. So if they don't have a match, then you want to probably be using your own retirement accounts outside of the 401k. Don't use the 401k unless you need it. Yeah, it's passed. You stick to 3% to pay off your debts. Well, if you have student loan debts, that's kind of like, you know, if they're giving you the free money, even though you might have a bad taste in your mouth about it, if it's there, right? It's kind of like, I don't believe in the 401k like in most cases, but if they're going to give you free money, it's like, okay, you have to kind of suck it up and take it, you know? All right, that's all I have for you today. I thank you for watching. If we helped you in some way, hit the subscribe button. I can't think of how we would have helped you today. Maybe this thing here. That probably just made you mad. But all right, we'll talk to you at 5 o'clock. We're going to do the closing beat. And wow, lots to talk about in the stock market today. If you're paying attention, pretty cool day so far. We're going to cover it all, of course, and we'll see you then.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.
Hey, wait! Before you go watch one of our other great videos, have you had a chance to see our new Fin Tips videos? They focus on one topic at a time, covering investing, personal finance, and anything that can quickly help you with your dough. Best of all, we'll keep it real short, because we know time is money.